very quickly as well, people. Latest news. Oh, we need caps. Latest news. Let's do the thumbnail. Let's do the timestamp. I wouldn't mind Drewsbury Hall, but I wouldn't say Xhaka replace me. He can come and be part of the squad. Quite underrated player. I don't think he's amazing, but I think he can get a lot better. I think he's decent still. I'll take Drewsbury Hall for the squad. I don't know about replacing Xhaka, but yeah. First thing I want to draw you lots of attention to, Saka, Martinelli and Saliba, Arsenal's contracts are a delicate balancing act, people. Right now, we're top of the league, 4 points clear of Man City and Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, the young players, William, Saliba, Martinelli and Saka are shining. Saka finished 8th on the Copper Trophy thing. Martinelli's scoring goals. Saliba, finally, after a long period where it looked like he might stay, he might go, we're finally over the hill, excluding this contract stuff, people. And there's rumors in the back burners of Gabriel, of Xhaka, of Ramsdale, all getting new deals, as we could have expected. All three are in contract talks with the club. It seems trite, I can't say that word, to say the club should extend their deals. That much is obvious. Arsenal know it, and what's more, they're confident they can do it. The subject of how and when those deals might be agreed, however, is rather more complicated. So, yeah, I'm trying to scroll out through the toss, people. Arsenal's challenge is to strike a balancing act to agree all those important contracts without upsetting the new wage structure they have so painstakingly implemented. But it comes with the territory. You're going to have to give man big wages. Look at what Haaland's getting. I'm not saying, definitely with what we've been doing recently, we've put mediocre players on average wages and struggled to get rid of it. But rewarding players, giving new contracts, putting down top money in terms of a transfer fee for players, and obviously giving them deals that they deserve. It has to happen, really. So, yeah, by all means, these lot deserve new deals. And you'd imagine Odegaard's in line for a new deal in a few years as well, really. Or him, Ben White, Odegaard, Ben White. Jesus has just got here, but probably him, Tomiyasu, Ramsdale, as we've said previously, and you can see here. But yeah, time is of the essence. Although there has been suggestions Saliba and Saka's contracts may run until 2025, they only go as far as 2024, even with clauses. In Saliba's case, his deal actually expires next summer, 2023, but Arsenal hold an option to extend until the following year. Likewise, Saka's deal does not extend beyond 2024. Martinelli's contract expires in 2024, but Arsenal have the option of a further 2 years. So with that, Saliba and Saka's more priority. You know, for Saka, for me, it's a case of when, not if. Saliba, I'm confident, but if I'm him, I'm running it down as long as I can. You've got a World Cup, you're playing well. Back of your mind, you weren't always in the plans. You can get more money and things like that, get a very important contract. Martinelli's, we've clearly got a lot of wiggle room, really. Although there's enormous focus on all three of these players, each case is unique. Negotiations with Saka are the most advanced. Arteta has described him as described himself as very confident an agreement be reached, a sentiment Saka has echoed. Arsenal prioritized Saka's contract above all others during the summer, obviously, because Martinelli's form weren't what he was doing now. Saliba, Arteta planned to use him, but he weren't what he is now to Arsenal. Saka was, so okay. And made significant headway during the summer. It now appears a question of when, not if, a contract is finalized. In Martinelli's case, it is still relative early days. That's partly because Arsenal have a more secure position. The 2-year option would take his contract up until 2026. Nevertheless, negotiations are underway on a revised deal that reflects Martinelli's improved standing as a regular first-team player. Like Saka, Martinelli is clear he wants to stay at Arsenal, which gives the club significant reassurance in negotiations. Some fans may wonder why Arsenal are contemplating giving Martinelli a new deal, given he only signed his last in 2020. Wasn't that Saka as well? And is theoretically under contract for another 4 years. However, those contracts are not simply about holding on to players and protecting the club. They are agreements made in good faith, and it is implicate that good performances will be rewarded. That's true. Arsenal could simply sit tight and activate the optional extra years, but what would that do to the relationship with Martinelli and his agents? One issue that Arsenal face is that a new deal set a precedent for the next. Already, the forward pair of Balogun and Nketiah have taken advantage of precarious contract situations to win lucrative new deals. With the media full all over reports of those salaries, they become reference points in the future negotiations. Arsenal will know that whatever salary they reward Saka will doubtlessly be cited by Martinelli's agents, as we've discussed before. Of the three players, Saliba's negotiating position is arguably the strongest. His stock seems to rise with each game. Don't know about the Leeds one. The option in his contract takes it as far as 2024. But in this peculiar scenario, preserving, perhaps even rebuilding, the relationship with the player and the agent is of paramount importance. Saliba is still on the contract drawn up by Hos Fahmy and Raul Sanye in the summer of 2019, though there were clauses built in to ensure his remuneration. I know what the word means, but I don't know. Rose, obviously, just get more peace. Rose with his development, his reps will still feel there's significant room for improvement. It's worth noting that all of these players have a chance of World Cup involvement. Saka and Saliba appear certainties to be selected, performing on that global stage. I mean, apart from Saka, maybe Saliba, but Saka, I mean, Saliba and Martinelli don't expect them to be main players like that at the World Cup. You'd expect Saka to play a decent amount if he does go with England. I say if. Maybe Ben White should go as well. Could see their value and their subsequently their demands rise again. Where possible, Arsenal would be well advised, smash the like button, people, to make significant progress before the tournament kicks off in Qatar. In each case, Arsenal will make an evaluation based on the player's age, contractual situation, development potential, standing with the coaching staff and statistical profile. Technical recommendations will be made by Edu and Arteta, while Director of Operations Richard Garlett will be charged with drawing up terms. There is autonomy, but there is oversight too. Every major stage of contract talks involves dialogue between the management team, the chief executive, and the board. Obviously, we all remember we had the Champions League wage bill on the Europa League budget. Obviously, Pepe was costly and it didn't work. Aubameyang's new contract didn't work. Ozil's contract didn't work. Lacazette, 52 million, never got 20 league goals. Praise him, man, for working hard. Good player, but didn't work. So, yeah, I think it's a bit different because these players deserve it. But, you know, it is what it is. And if we qualify for the Champions League, there's more peace as well. The challenge Arsenal may face is that should they qualify for the Champions League, players and agents may expect Champions League wages. Arsenal hope to mitigate against that and have discussed the inclusion of performance clauses related to CL qualification. In doing so, Arsenal could avoid a costly disparity between their financial commitments and their European status. They are happy to pay Champions League salaries, provided they're actually in the Champions League. A new contract for Aaron Ramsdale is also on Arsenal's agenda. Although he only joined the club in 2021, he has since established himself as number one and is a regular part of the England national setup. There's acknowledgement on all sides that he should be rewarded with a salary more in line with the first choice keeper at a top six club. Another issue for Arsenal is the domino effect. As soon as they give out one contract, other players and reps will inevitably come knocking. Tomiyasu signed for the club on a relative modest salary, and should he regain a regular place, he will hope to see that addressed. Patino's contract expires at the end of the season. Arsenal have an option to trigger a 2-year extension, but there's a deadline on that clause, and no contract talks have yet taken place. Arsenal's position in the summer was to focus on transfer business rather than contract renewals, but it's created something of a backlog. And as you know, Patino's probably, you know, it's got 2 years, you know, Saka priority from what we've read, Saliba next, Martinelli, Ramsdale, Patino because the contract's running down. And then you've got the Tomiyasu's, the Ramsdales, the Ben Whites who are under contract, but in terms of rewarding people, doing things, people. So, yeah, it is what it is there. So, yeah, I think that's that in relation to them contracts. Flicking back over to good old Google Chrome, people. One love for you lot being tuned in. Let's start from here, man. I know some of you wanted Rafael. Rafael update. AC Milan board will meet with his father to discuss about the contract situation. There will be a new proposal in the next days. His current deal expires in 2024. There's a 150 million euro release clause. We're confident to sign a new deal. And he's obviously, Chelsea's the main club linked with him. I mean, Goal.com links us with a whole load of madness in it, people. Like you can see Joao Felix, you could see Lautaro Martinez, new contract terms for Xhaka, as we've discussed a few days ago, people. You know, his current deal expires in 18 months, but Arsenal understood to have an option to extend it for another year until the summer of 2025, people. Yeah, Arsenal and Chelsea are battling for Robert Renan. You know, we're out of the Douglas Luiz race. Leave that to Roma. Ivan Ndika, maybe, potentially. We're always linked with him, so I don't know. Do I rate Charlie Patino? Yeah, 100%. Doing the right thing. Loan report dropping after this live stream. I'm going to upload it. He's doing quite well at Blackpool, sorry. You're on 83 likes now as I press the like button right now. John, good man. Appreciate that. So, yeah, moving on, people. Again, do you remember when we was linked with Rodrigo de Paul? I don't know if it's an avenue for Arsenal to explore. He left Udinese and went to Atletico, and it seems they're willing to sell. Juventus have been linked with him. A couple of clubs have been linked with him. He's valued at 35 million euros, 28 years of age. Maybe that's something to explore in the summer, people. I still like him. I ain't been watching Atletico as much as I was watching Udinese for this guy, but you don't turn a bad player overnight. It could be an avenue to explore really and truly, maybe on loan, potentially permanently. And again, apparently AC Milan and Juventus are interested in the pool. Could we get involved there? It hasn't worked out for him at Atletico. Victor Osimhen's been linked with us and his agent has spoken. Well, I don't know if Arsenal bidded. I don't know if United bidded, but his agent's chatting again. Our will is to continue at Napoli. What has he said here, people? He's insisted his client always intended to remain in Naples and that he's not considering switching clubs right now. We have found out that Osimhen we haven't found out that Osimhen is the subject of interest from so many teams, but things are done in free. Who sells, who buys in the player. But why I don't really care about this, unless you can tell us that there's been concrete bids, it doesn't mean anything. You can say you want to stay and all of those sort of things. I was immediately clear this summer because I knew there would be a lot of news coming out from those who had other interests, perhaps. But I, the boy in Napoli, had very clear ideas. Whoever talked about departure made a mistake. It was Victor's will to stay at Napoli and play in the Champions League that he won entry to last year together with his teammates. Victor wanted exactly that. If we're getting anyone from Napoli, I'd rather, try and bid that. I can't even say his name, but the Georgian lad who plays on the left wing, but you're going to have to put down top Wonga for him. He has a long contract with Napoli. The market is dynamic, but our will is to continue at Napoli. So, yeah, you lot do your thing. He's under contract till 2025. I think that one's shut at the moment, people. 3 possible destinations for Milinkovic-Savic. People were continuously linked with him. He's been linked with PSG, Juventus, and Arsenal. I can't lie, not to be sour. The Premier League maybe could get competitive wages, but it seems like Juventus just take the best players from other teams in Italy. PSG would be a good signing. And again, you'd earn, the tax laws in Paris are a lot kinder, and you'd be around Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. And then Arsenal. So, yeah, man, 27, I'd have Milinkovic-Savic, but you probably have to wait till the summer to even consider that. Arsenal, no. DiMarzio says 23-year-old will only join Tottenham if he moves to the Premier League. So he doesn't want to win any trophies in Olio Dia. And, DiMarzio isn't his dad. He's not an agent, so we don't know. But with the Conte and Patrici links over there at Spurs, it makes sense. Zenolio only had one request in the summer, and that was Tottenham. Tottenham tried to get him, but with a swap deal with other players or a loan option. Roma didn't want to sell the player under those conditions. Arsenal or other clubs, no. Only Tottenham can come back. Tottenham sporting director Fabio Patrici is one of the managers Zenolio has wanted for a long time, even when he was at Juventus. Okay, so you do what you want to do with Zenolio then, innit? Really? Joao Felix has reportedly asked super agent George Mendes to help him leave Atletico Madrid in January, with Arsenal one of the clubs interested in the Portuguese international. People. Ain't really worked out for him. There's financial issues, implications that could happen with Atletico messing about in the league and obviously making a meal of the Champions League. We've all seen him liking stuff on social media about returning back to Benfica and leaving and joining the team where you can do a thing. He's going to continuously be linked with Man United because of their Portuguese links and because of their need for probably strikers, and he can play as a false 9. I'd have him at Arsenal. Chelsea with Todd Burr, he could buy anyone. Apparently Barcelona inquired. And obviously his agent is George Mendes, same as Fabio Vieira, so it makes sense. But Arsenal would need to get Champions League football before this outlay, surely. But he was going to put 70-odd million down for Vlahovic, allegedly. Maybe you could find something for Joao Felix, but seems like quite the financial commitment when you haven't qualified for the Champions League and things like that. And obviously January in general is a difficult bit of business. Big up yourself, John. It's Deluded Gooner 04 on Instagram and Twitter and the rest of it, my bro. Love to see that. So yeah, that's Joao Felix. What's this? Well, that's just awesome and don't care about that. Once again, United, Arsenal, Chelsea set to battle out for Atletico Madrid forward. United, Chelsea, saving the best to last. Arsenal are all set to battle it out for Joao Felix. He's yet to score in 5 starts. Boy. And he only got 24 league starts last year. Crazy. I don't know if we can believe this publication, but yeah, obviously they're going to need to replace Ronaldo. Chelsea and Todd Burr are trying to buy anybody that's got somewhat of a name. I'd have him at Arsenal, but I don't quite get, we bought Gabriel Jesus. I'd like both of them. They can play in different roles and play together, but can't really see it, people. It just seems like nonsense. But The dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. So that's Joao Felix. Fabrizio Romano said, I can tell you during the summer, there were never negotiations between Arsenal and Chelsea for Kante. Never a bid, never approach. At the moment, nothing between Arsenal and Chelsea. And that's probably in line with apparently Chelsea are saying, you know what, no new contract for N'Golo Kante. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Moving away from that, Fabrizio Romano said the situation is really tense between Joao Felix and Atletico Madrid, especially with Simeone. The club insists he's not for sale, but his agent, George Mendes, is exploring potential solutions for 2023, people. So that tells you that they've got other ideas. January is a myth, in my opinion. Maybe after the World Cup. And what's this? This same outlet is saying, I guess, 3 possible destinations for Joao Felix in January: Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal. So I'm not too sure. I think it's more realistic, probably Chelsea out of them, because they'll put the bread down. United, 1 minute, some reports say they ain't got money to spend, but it's Man United. They have got money to spend, in it. So I don't know. And I've just explained Arsenal in it, so can't see that happening. Arsenal transfer target asking price likely to have risen as high as 65 million euros, says Romano. Of course, Mudruk, with every game you play, it's going to get better. He's insisted that his transfer value is likely to have increased a lot since the summer transfer window. He said, and we've heard, the interviews about Mudruk talking about Arsenal. Ben Jacobs seems to be paying his journalistic bills by just talking about this guy. I continue to watch the development of Mudruk. His performances in the Champions League this season have been amazing, overdoing it. He's a player whose value has most likely shot up since the summer. Shakhtar Donetsk wanted around 50 million euros from him in August. Probably 40 million plus add-ons were enough. Today, I'm sure they want way more than 50 million for their star. It could probably be as high as 60, 65 million euros. And I don't blame them for wanting to sell to the highest bidder, really. It is what it is. We've been linked with Jeremy Doku once again, people, and he's been linked with Liverpool, who tried to get him at 15, 16 years of age and have continuously tried. Chelsea and Arsenal, who we did the same thing. Napoli and Juventus. Is he ready for a step up yet? I'm not too sure, people, or for the outlay they'll be looking to spend. We've been linked with Lautaro Martinez, people. I don't know if I believe any of this, but yeah, I would have Lautaro Martinez if we could, but it's going to cost too much. DiMarzio has been speaking about a bunch of players: Lautaro Martinez to Bayern Munich, Harry Kane to Bayern Munich, and all of that sort of stuff. It's irrelevant because the only thing I care about, he spoke on Cody Gakpo, who we're facing on Thursday, and in a World Cup year where he wants to play for Holland, he's doing quite well, and where he's probably going to get a good move, probably to United, in my opinion. Not that I know anything, but he's got 13 goals and 10 assists in 16 games for PSV. DiMarzio said, obviously, he's linked with many clubs. I know him very well. He's a very, very good player. When you play in the Eredivisie with PSV and Ajax, you obviously learn intensity and quality. So the Premier League is the right move for him, for players like him. I think Manchester United, Arsenal, or Tottenham. And to play devil's advocate, I don't think he's wrong with what he said about, the Eredivisie, PSV, or Ajax, or Cody Gakpo. But I'm now deep in. Apart from Lautaro Martinez, who's doing okay, who's really come from the Dutch league and done much in the Premier? It didn't really work out for Bergwijn. Hakim Ziyech, he didn't bang. Davinson Sanchez, he didn't bang at Spurs. Memphis Depay didn't bang. There is probably a couple of exceptions to the rule, but no one's really come from the Dutch league, if off the top of my head I stand corrected, and done much, really. So I'm not too sure. And even De Jong and De Ligt, they're good players and at 2 good clubs, but I thought they would have been more household names, if I'm honest with you, in world football. Tottenham, I think, need other players to have a wider squad and more manager choices. One of those teams, it depends on what PSV want. For him, I think Man United or Arsenal or Tottenham, for that matter, Ruud van Nistelrooy probably putting a word in for United, are the right projects for quality and intense players like him. Of course, it's still too early to say if there's a deal or if clubs are talking to each other. We're in October, and of course, there's also the World Cup, so all transfers will be postponed. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Make of that what you will. Let's see what the Scum newspaper is saying. Pardon me. Just talk around contracts. Big up Mane, probably trying to get Saka to go Bayern, innit? Showing him love there. So yeah, Arsenal predicted 14-year high. Arsenal are on target to reach 80 Premier League points for the first time since 2008. Keep it up then, innit? And we've seen that we've been linked with that. Ramsdale, we know you're a S Hauser. Saka was crowned 8th best youngster in the world. That's great for us, people. Atletico Madrid have joined the race to get Tossart, who's been linked with us and Chelsea. and we're targeting two new signings in January. Romano said they will keep going step by step, game by game, with the aim to improve the whole project with new contracts, new players in the future, and more. That doesn't say much, really. But the report believes that Telemans remains a midfielder they're strongly considering. Fair enough. How Real Madrid didn't get Club of the Year, I don't know. Real Madrid were in the final. Real Madrid beat them. Apparently, Arteta tried to support Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in his final months at the Emirates. I will tell you something because I know something a little bit from the inside. Everyone knows something. I think he was trying to support the player as much as he could. Then after he couldn't, so he had a decision to make, and that's it. Oh, great. We learned a lot there, didn't we, with that Rafa Benitez? And that's a fact. So, yeah, it is what it is, people. Newcastle are considering a move for Szczesny. Eddie Howe, you might end up beating him up still. But yeah, that's that. Peed off Loconga, vents fury. Loconga seems a bit like a spoiled child at times. I don't think he's wrong in anything he said. Really, he seems an opinionative man, but I would say roll your sleeves up if I'm honest with you. This is in relation to Roberto Martinez. I called him the other day after the international match in March. I was really peed off. I thought for a moment that I didn't even want to play for the national team anymore. Martinez said he preferred players who are playing regularly at their clubs. He was also not completely satisfied with my training, and the manager's allowed to think that. I don't think he can portray me as a bad boy who doesn't work hard, so Loconga reckons he's looking at excuses. It'd be too easy to put up such a picture of me. He can't use something like that to justify why I don't get to play well, because you're not good enough, really, at the moment. If I'm already on the bench while Kevin De Bruyne, Hazard, and the other stars are there, then I don't stand a chance if they're in the selection. Maybe Martinez doesn't believe in my qualities or he doesn't like my style, but I'd rather he communicate that clearly. I would have accepted his decision without hesitation. You're allowed to think like that, but maybe he didn't, in terms of going and spilling stuff to the public isn't going to say much, really. I mean, in the all or nothing, you do seem like a lad that feels a lot sorry for yourself, and you're allowed to. You should be thinking you should play well, but you've got to look inwards. I think there's a player in Loconga, but we're going to have to tune it out, really and truly. He then said on Arsenal, honestly, it's difficult. I'm at one of the best clubs in England. I could have played somewhere elsewhere every weekend, but that wouldn't have been the right solution for me. It's a personal decision to stay at Arsenal. I wanted to give myself another year to stay at Arsenal and see what happens. At the end of last season, I almost snapped. I called my agent to ask him if staying at Arsenal was a good idea. He comforted me in my choice, even though I know I need to start more often to get in the squad. Because right now you're probably behind El Nene if he's fit, because you know there's a base level of performance, even though I'd rather you play because you need to develop. But if we're talking about just ticking along to get top 4, I'd rather bet on El Nene, who might drop a 5 or 6 out of 10, respectfully, or better, or Loconga, who might be 20 out of 10 one week, 2 out of 10 the next. So stop feeling sorry for yourself, pull your pants up and keep going. I like that you have that chip on your shoulder, and I think there's a player in there, but you don't fit the tactics right now. You're not experienced enough or mature enough to play as a lone 6. People say you can play as an 8, and I hope you can play as an 8 or a 6 and be adaptable, but Xhaka is more of playing the more 8 than I want to see than I imagine you. I would rather bring in 2 8s or 8 in the summer or January. I think when you've got Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe, Zinchenko, and Odegaard, I'd rather explore all of them playing before you in that role. And then obviously you're not playing ahead of Partey at this moment. But I hope you develop. I think there's a player in there. So yeah, man, maybe to get in the World Cup squad, it was best going out on loan and things like that. But I understand why you want to stay, and we're all rooting for you, man. But pattern up. Gabriel has spoken on experiencing the time of his life. I think it's one of the best periods of my life at the moment. I'm learning more about life every day with everything that's happening to me. When you become a father, you change in many ways, and I'm delighted. I think the first season was tough. The second went better, and the third is just starting now. You're having a good season, man. You had a good game against Leeds, apart from the flashpoint people are trying to get onto you about. My ambition is to play in every game. We know how hard it is to go through a season playing in every game, but I like to try take good care of myself to help Arsenal at all times. Shout out Beth Mead as well, who finished the 2022 Ballon d'Or runner-up to go with Bukayo Saka finishing 8th in the Copa. Big up the Arsenal ones. My long report out after this, people, once it uploads. Is there anything else on Arsenal.com? Doesn't seem like such there. So, yeah, people. It is what it is. Luis Suarez. Yeah, Suarez is one. Suarez banged. But this is why I asked you lot, because, yeah, you're right. 100% Suarez banged. Suarez was a great player. But this is what I'm saying. You have to really go in the memory banks. I almost forgot Suarez at Liverpool now. You're right. You're right. But who else? This is why I asked you lot. Like, what? Suarez banged. over exceeded expectations and then more. You know, I'm sure if you're a Norwich supporter out there, you don't like the name Luis Suarez, or if you're Ghanaian, obviously what he did at the World Cup. But yeah, Wijnaldum did all right at Newcastle eventually and then went to Liverpool. It weren't like that. So yeah, so that's 2 names. Everyone else has not really done much. So yeah, it is what it is in that regard, man. Keep them coming. Blind, he did okay. Yeah, Blind did okay. Ericsson did all right. Vertonghen did all right. Toby did all right. Yeah, but you have to go through the memory banks for them. These are all done from years ago. So yeah, you're right. But of recent, who's really done? No one's done nothing of recent. Latoro started well. Lissandro, better yet, has started well at United. Anthony, technically, he's a bit so-so, you know, depending on what game he's played. Ain't really worked out for Ziyech, Davinson Sanchez, them kind of Van der Beek, them kind of man. But Odegaard came from Madrid, though, innit? Technically, I know he went over there, but we didn't just buy him directly. We took him off Real Madrid. So that one can go to VAR, but it's looking a bit Banduli. But yeah, the point being, not too many of them. Sinistero looks okay. Funny you don't see Ben White complaining about Southgate when he has a much bigger case than Sambi. I mean, Sambi is allowed to do what he wants, but he does seem like a bit childish. But Ben White, you know what it is? It's just if you just shut your mouth, everyone's situation is different because Ben White's been to an international tournament. You know, what I would say, you're right. Ben White privately he's probably saying he deserves to be there as he should, but he's just keeping his mouth shut. Ramsdale, he's quite mature in his responses as well. Even the other day, he said, "I don't think I'll be the number 1 at the Euros." Ziyech hot and cold, so that's not banging though. I mean, he joined and won a Champions League, so you can do the lazy thing, but I don't think if he left tomorrow, Chelsea fans are going to be upset. He's got a chip on his shoulder, but you need a chip on your shoulder. I've got one. It's just the collective. I just feel he thinks a bit is woe is me, really, at times. Yeah, man. Suarez, the last one that really banged, went on to become one of the madmen. I can't lie. I do like Gakpo a lot more than I thought. You know, he looked a bit meaty at first. Still looks a bit Bandulu and meaty, but the more I see of him, the more I can get behind it. But it's a bit brazy, man.